Hey guys, it's TinyMan back here again. I wanted to do another video on the topic of gay marriage, and this will be a video response to 2Rocker4U. I looked at her channel, and from the very get-go, you can obviously see that she's a Christian and she listens to Fox News. So she obviously doesn't. We obviously know her views on gay marriage, but on her channel she says Fox News is she only watches Fox News because all other channels are biased. All news is biased. Everyone's got their own political agenda, whether it's Keith Olbermann's agenda or Bill O'Reilly's agenda. It's all the same. If you don't like the bias, don't watch the news. So this will be a response to her video, Gay Marriage Revised. And in it, she says at the start that she doesn't want to make the video claiming that gay marriage is worse than all sin, just that it is sin, and as a Christian, she opposes sin. Well, first off, this is just going to be a question. She then goes on to say that homosexuality is equal to cruelty against animals and people. Okay? And this is just a question to any Christian who agrees that all sin is equal. Are homosexuals just as bad as murderers? Do you agree with that? And this is a question for her too. Does she agree that murderers and homosexuals are equal in sin, however you define that? Then she says she doesn't want to upset people. Well, she's saying things that upset people. If she doesn't want to upset people, she shouldn't be making YouTube videos condemning gay marriage, you know. She doesn't think that gays are terrible, but she agrees with the Bible, I assume, and she agrees with God's punishments for the homosexuals, which is eternal torture. So they're not terrible, but they deserve to be tortured for eternity. God has love for gays, that's what she says. And my question is, if he has love for them, why does his punishments infinite? Because even a father who gets mad at his son for doing something, his punishments are, you know, time out for 10 minutes, not eternal torture in hell for an eternity. So, and she says, in order to be a Christian, you must believe the Bible. Okay? And you must agree with all the things in the Bible. You can't pick and choose. I agree with that. She says that God condemns it, and that homosexuality, and that as a Christian you must also condemn it. And I agree. And she says that you don't want to be hypocritical. Okay, fine. The Bible does condemn homosexuality, and if you don't want to be, and if you are a Christian, you must accept the Bible. I'll go with that. If you agree with that, then yeah, okay. That's what I agree with. I agree the Bible says such things. I've read it. I don't see the problem with that. I guess that's just more of her apply to Christians who are for gay marriage or whatever. And she says that her proof that God disagrees with homosexuality is that he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Again, God disagreeing with something does not have any bearing on whether or not it is good or moral or anything. That just means he's an omnipotent bully who wants to impose his will on us. If God was to condemn YouTube, that doesn't mean YouTube's evil. It means God's pushing his will on us. She then goes to say another example of why God doesn't agree with homosexuality is because God made Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve. Well, that wouldn't even make sense even if God did agree with homosexuality. Because even if God did agree with homosexuality, and if there is a God, it's very obvious that he does agree with homosexuality because he wouldn't have created homosexuals in all species. But that if God did start with Adam and Steve, he would really have to start again really soon. You can't start with two males. You know, I think God would start with Adam and Eve, then add in the homosexuals later on. She then goes on to claim, you know, the Bible condemns homosexuality. Okay, fine. Nobody, I'm not going to argue that point. She then goes on to say that if you don't agree with the Bible, where does your morality come from? And the point comes back to, well, the Bible's not the most moral book in the world. It condones slavery. It even tells you how to treat your slavery. It condones polygamy. It even tells you how to treat your secondary wives. And it condemns homosexuality, which is a very anti-moral thing to say. He then says that Earth is a sinful nation. Well, if it's such a sinful if it's sinful, God created it, so that's him to blame. Then she goes on to say, if morality doesn't come from a book, and that people don't agree with the Bible, they're not getting their morality from the Bible, so they're not moral creatures. Again, the Bible's not very moral. She says the Bible has everything you need to know. I have never had to go to the Bible for any knowledge, except to know what the Bible says on particular passages. And not very often is that. If you wanted to make a claim that God wrote something, I would claim that God wrote Wikipedia. Because more people go to Wikipedia for information and knowledge than the Bible. And even if so, Wikipedia has much more knowledge than the Bible will ever have. The Wikipedia has millions of pages of information. The Bible has about 500. So, claim that God wrote Wikipedia. Then you might have more of a case. The government, she then goes on to say, government should have no business in marriage. Yet then she goes on to say, but since it does, it should enforce Christianity's view of it. Or modern Christianity's view of it. Of course, the Bible advocates polygamy, and even tells you how to treat your secondary wives. If she's going to make the case that the government has no business in marriage, I might agree with that. But if you're going to make that case, you might as well stand on it. You can't just say, well, if it does, it might as well enforce my views on Christianity. Or on marriage, I'm sorry. She then goes on to say, no divorce. There's no such thing as a divorce because it's a promise. But she says that you can divorce in cases of abuse. And I'd like to know where she says that, where it's written that in the Bible. Because last I heard, divorce is eternal, no exceptions. Then she goes on to say that you should have no intimacy before marriage, and that God doesn't condone that, and that's her personal view. If she doesn't think that you shouldn't have sex before marriage, that's fine. I don't care, but don't complain if people do, you know. And then she says, because it's sinning when it's outside marriage, and that you will be punished for that. Again, that's and you'll get in trouble. And then, you know, it makes no difference whether it's inside a marriage or outside a marriage. It's the same act being done the same way. So whether or not it's inside marriage has no bearing on its morality whatsoever. And that it's only a preference if she wants to have sex only inside marriage. That's fine. Then she goes on to say that there's no gauging, which is very odd since they've already proven there's a gauging. I'd like to know what study she's citing to know that that discovery is null and void. She makes a few more points, and I'm going to make another video. Okay, so stay tuned for part 2.